Hard to argue.
Hard to argue. Number 10, South Carolina. Y'all already know my thoughts on Sellers. We know what they have in Dylan Stewart. I am betting, if you're betting on South Carolina this year, you are betting on their superstars. You are betting that their superstars are just that much better than everybody else. That Dylan Stewart can win football games for them defensively, and that Lenora Sellers can win football games for them defensively. By the way, or offensively, I think they both can because of the playmaking nature of both of them. Yes. They play positions that can wreck the game, that can win the game.
South Carolina could very easily be the biggest riser this season. They could also be the biggest collapse, in my opinion. Collapse in the sense of they're getting so much attention this preseason. They're getting a lot of positive attention, I should say, because people are really high on Sellers and the weapons that they have on that offense. They're projecting them to be really good, guys like Nick Harbor and the running back room. But offensive line has always been a problem for them. Defensive line, really, like interior-wise, don't know what that's going to look like. I don't think they're not going to have the difference makers that they did last year. Like Tonka Hemingway and TJ Sanders were really good football players for them. We'll see what Jalen Kilgore can do in the secondary and see what, like, if he can be that type of guy that Nicky Manwari was. Not that he'll be that, but again, a guy that, because Nicky Manwari turned the ball over so much for South Carolina last year. And that was the difference maker for them too last year. As great as Lenoris was last year, it was their defense creating turnovers consistently, getting in the ball back immediately.
They're only in that game because they against Alabama because they turned Milroe over late in the fourth quarter.
So I just don't know if they'll have that to lean on this year. And then again, the offensive line, Sellers can only do so much, and he can do a lot. He can do a lot with his legs, but
been a very hit on talking point. I don't think South Carolina, and I could get this could come back to bite me. I think South Carolina has made tremendous strides over the last 18 months at the offensive line position. Signing Josiah Thompson was massive for them. Not only is he like good, a big time prospect, he was great. Like he walked in immediately, was really, really good.
Yeah, he was never the problem.
Kason Henry at right tackle, in my opinion, playable. I don't watch South Carolina football anymore and go, good God, they're horrible up front. Like this is, when I watched Spencer Rattler play behind that offensive line, I thought it was borderline malpractice. To let a quarterback play back there.
That UNC game.
The UNC game was worse. The whole season was bad. Like, it was bad to watch. I didn't feel that way about them last year. Now, that could be because they had a magician at the position. That he just, you got beat clean, don't worry about it. Peter Woods ain't got a chance in hell of touching it.
And I think he is that good to where it makes you feel like that the offensive line is better than it was. But I do agree with you, though. They are making positive strides. I mean, they got Damola Ajadehu in last class as well, swiped him away. Adijahun. Damola Adijahun. They got him last class. So I think they're doing the right things there. But speaking for this year, I'm just going to continue to have questions about it.
Number 9, Notre Dame. Now, they didn't just lose great players. I've talked about this. I felt like Notre Dame lost great leaders last year. I thought Riley Leonard was kind of the face of that offense towards the end of the year, and really, like, not the face of the program, but felt like a massive cultural leader for that football team last year. Xavier Watts has been this for that defense for a long time, as has Jack Keisner, as has Riley Mills, as has Howard Cross. All those football players are gone. Now, here's the thing that I relearned today when I went and looked at this, okay? Not only has Notre Dame basically averaged a top 10 recruiting class since Marcus Freeman has been there, but they lost all those players from last year's football team, and their roster isn't lit up with orange names on our lads, boys. Their roster isn't lit up with transfers. Their roster is lit up with, don't worry, we're sliding. We lost a great player, 3-year starter for us. Don't worry, we're sliding him in with a junior who's been sitting on the bench for us and developing with us in-house, and is a blue chip guy, right? That's what it means. When you recruit at a top 10 level and then you lose a bunch of football players and you don't have to go to the transfer portal to replace them, you're replacing great players with great prospects that you recruited and developed in-house. That's a good recipe for continued success, not massive drop-off and fall off the cliff. I was really impressed with the retention of the roster that they've maintained.
This feels like 2019 Georgia reincarnated.
This feels like SEC roster.
That's what I'm saying.
This feels like Big Ten, like top 3 roster is what this feels like.
2019 Georgia in the sense of they're going to beat you because they're really good at the line of scrimmage and they're really sound. And I think they have a good run game. Georgia had a good run game that year. But the weapons and not making direct comparisons like saying that Carr is going to be Jake Fromm or anything like that. But just like there's no wow factor to the offense outside of Jeremiah Love, and I think that could cause them some trouble. And then I do have like replacing a guy like Xavier Watts. Like, what is that going to look like? How are they going to fare there?
Like, they went into the portal and bought an receiver in Malachi Fields. I think that's the kid from Virginia.
I believe so.
I believe so. And then Devontae Smith's on this roster. I don't know how Alabama fans feel about Devontae Smith, and this might be a good gauge for what happened there, or how in the hell is he on Notre Dame's roster? Because when I watched Devontae Smith the last several years at Alabama, I thought really, really damn good player. Probably a nickel defensive back that's going to play on Sundays is what I thought of him, and I'm sure he's going to do really, really well at Notre Dame. I was shocked to see him on that roster. That's a massive addition, in my opinion. Again, don't know how Alabama fans feel about him. Maybe they think that their defensive back core is so loaded that he was not going to get playing time, having come back for another year of college football. I don't know.
I think that the most important thing for Notre Dame this year is going to be, does the talent that you lost last season not diminish enough to the point where your execution and the way you play can take up for it? Because we saw in that playoff, Notre Dame beat teams, and Notre Dame basically beat the better teams that they played throughout the schedule because they had more discipline, they had a better plan, and they've executed a lot better. I don't know if you're going to consistently get that from them this year simply because of what they're overturning in the experience category, but I think it's very understanding as to why people are high on them. I think 9 is very appropriate.
All right, number 8, LSU. Now, we are a football program that I think is pretty good at identifying problem areas.
Yes.
Pretty good at looking at a roster and being like, wait a minute, you're not at your standard at these positions. I felt like the last couple years I've watched LSU football, they have not been the standard at X receiver. I know Kyron Lacey was relatively decent last year, but that's not LSU standard at X receiver. I don't feel like they've been the LSU standard at defensive line. I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like they had any speed or difference makers in the defensive backfield at LSU. Not at the LSU standard. Those were the areas of concerns with their roster last year and really the last 2 years under Brian Kelly. What did they do this offseason? They went out and they got Nick Anderson from Oklahoma. So boom, we bring in an X, a verified X. When that dude was healthy, Nick Anderson was one of the best, balls in the air, my ball, wide receivers that there is available in college football. We talked about the defensive line problems. They had massive issues stopping the run. Go watch that Alabama football game from last year. They got their nose and face caved in because they had nobody up front. What did they do? They went and got Jack Pyburn from Florida, a SEC starter, multiple years over. Don't really care what Florida fans think about him. That's an SEC quality starter that's now on LSU's roster. All right, not only that, they went and got Patrick Payton. I know what I saw from Patrick Payton last year. I know, but hey, high ceiling football player, much better than what they had available on their roster currently. Okay, they not only just those two guys, they went out and signed 3 or 4 defensive tackles out of the portal as well. They threw bodies at problem areas. I mentioned the defensive backs, guys. They brought in 5 defensive back transfers and signed a 5-star at corner in DJ Pickett. So I don't know if they solved all the problems, but they sure as hell identified everything that we said they have a problem with and went and tried to throw answers at the problem. So I think you have to give them credit for what they did this offseason to their roster.
I think it's funny how at the start of the offseason, my concern for LSU going into this year was what was quarterback play going to look like for Garrett Nussmeier, just because of my experience watching him. It was very up and down, and the lows were very low, but the highs were very high. Now I feel a lot more confident in him. It is like the other parts and pieces on this roster. Like LSU's run game has just not been there at all over the last 4 years, I would say, maybe even more than that. So I think that they need to get that going as well, on top of solving some of the defensive issues that they've had. Yeah,
you're buying the hype of Garrett Nussmeier and the expectation that he is going to take that final step into becoming the best version of himself. Like we said, they tried to fill a lot of holes on defense. Whether they are actually filled is to be determined, but I think that they're going to be a very good team this year.
I just looked it up. Guesses on the last time LSU had a 1,000-yard rusher?
I'm sure it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire in 2020.
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah, that's 2019.
It was. They haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since there, which, to be fair, I don't think Georgia has either.
Nope.
DeAndre Swift, 19. So it's been a while. I guess it's just hard to run the ball in this conference.
They've also had some injuries in their running back room.
LSU has.
Yeah, John Emery got hurt last year, so... early into the season too. Like
Before the season started, I'm pretty sure. I thought
Number 7 on our board, preseason top 25, Alabama. The more and more I study their roster, I really like it. I'm bullish on what Alabama returns, especially defensively. They basically return everybody but Devontae Smith and Malachi Moore. Everybody. Oh, and Jahad Campbell. But they have 2 guys at linebacker that have been playing for decades, it feels like.
Yeah,
Alabama. Deontay Lawson and the other guy's been playing forever as well. Huh?
Quay Rousseau?
No. He's an edge rusher. They have another linebacker that's been playing forever. Go ahead.
But no, Alabama's defense is getting wildly overlooked this year simply because of Ryan Grubb's back. Who's going to be quarterback? Is it, Simpson or whoever? I think that
Justin Jefferson.
What is it with the wide receiver names? And
Justin Jefferson, who wears number 10 for them, has been playing at Alabama forever, it feels like.
But Alabama's defense is going to be one of the better parts of this team this year, and that's terrifying because everyone expects the offense to take a step forward.
Yeah.
The Jalen Milroe experience had some really high highs, but there were some really, really low lows. With Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer coming back together, Ty Simpson's most likely going to be the quarterback there. I think Alabama's going to be one of these teams that takes a massive step forward, which is so weird to have them in the top 10 because of after, the really gross 9-4 season.
Everyone, I saw somebody ask, is Texas A&M the best offensive line on paper in the conference?
I don't know.
I think it might be Alabama on paper preseason, because they returned 3 high-quality starters, in Proctor and in Brailsford and in Jaden Roberts, and they stole a starter from A&M and Cam Dewberry. Now, maybe Dewberry was a spot player, but Cam Dewberry's played 36 games in this conference, and now he's going to start for Alabama. So they got guys. Now, we're going to find out about the Wilkin Formsby kid, but apparently, my man DeBoer has spoken highly of him out there at Alabama. So I'm curious. The only question I have about them is, are they going to consistently run the football?
That will be an issue. That room is very thin, especially with Justice Ainsley.
They couldn't manufacture a traditional run game last year with the running back. Everything in that run game was dependent upon Jalen Milroe's legs. Now, that might have been by nature. They might have been featuring that because it was his best trait. We'll find out this year. Number 6 is Oregon. Now, my note right here, and you tell me if you agree with this. This is the most question-filled roster Dan Lanning's had at Oregon since year 1.
yes.
Very fair to say that, yes.
I mean, there's questions all over this roster.
Particularly on the offensive side of the ball.
Quarterback, running back, who's going to be your wide receiver? I know you got an athlete at tight end, but what's after that? All right, but there are a ton of questions about this Oregon roster.
I look at Oregon and Oklahoma on kind of similar levels here, with Oregon being a little more talented, to where we expect the defense to be good. You've shown enough that you're a defensive-minded coach that can field a very, very good defense, dependent no matter who you put out there. It's the offense that needs to take the step forward. They've had good offenses under Bo Nix. Obviously, Dylan Gabriel was a very good quarterback for them this year. I'm very curious to see if they can get the same level of quarterback play this season.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback play has really kind of elevated them and kept them in position of contention over the years. So Dante Moore, that's certainly a question for them. But yeah, I'm with you, Brooks, on there's just too many pieces on this schedule or roster to where I do have some concerns, but they have earned the right to be considered one of the best teams in the country.
Also, this is going to be a college football playoff team.
Yeah, the schedule alone.
The schedule is so easy. It's Ohio State and then nobody.
Penn State
and then nobody.
And Happy Valley.
Excuse me. Penn State in Happy Valley and then nothing. Absolutely nothing. I think the hardest game outside of that is maybe Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Do they have USC in there?
Do they play USC this year? Will you look up Oregon's schedule? I thought it was one preseason top 25 opponent and then nothing.
I think there was
from what I looked at.
But
either way, I mean, they'll be favored by 6 points over USC.
Oregon is one of the few teams that should go 12-0.
And they're going to get to the college football playoff, and we're going to know nothing about them.
They play at USC the second to last week.
They get it at home?
Yes.
Coming off a bye?
No.
Okay. So almost every advantage you can humanly possibly get.
Yeah, right. The schedule is extremely favorable.
So that's a 11-1 schedule, 10-2 schedule.
10-2 at worst, and
worst case scenario, you're still a playoff team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Are you with that schedule though?
Maybe we'll find out. I mean,
depends on.
You're gonna get a different type of look at you if you're Oregon with a 10-2 schedule. than you were last year if Indiana pulled the 10-2. You see what I'm saying? You get benefit of the doubt because you're Oregon and you're Dan Lanning.
10-2 is still third best team in the Big Ten, even if you don't make the conference championship.
You're probably going at that point. All right, moving on. Number 5, Clemson. Only question about Clemson, 2 questions. 1, what the hell with the running back? Like, what are we going to do there? And 2, when you get there, because I'm assuming you're going to get there, are you going to be able to hang with the big boys? Is your roster high enough caliber to get after it with the Texases, the Ohio States, the Georgias, the Penn States now when you get there?
Yeah, the whole everything I'm seeing to where people are buying Clemson preseason is because they should go through the ACC. They are so far ahead on paper, better than every team in the ACC this year. Even Miami, who we talked about, has really, really high upside. Clemson is the best team in the ACC by far. I think that's where that stops of talent-wise and being the best. They're going to have one of the more experienced rosters in the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Like the amount of continuity they have, the amount of guys that they've had return. Cade Klubnik has a very good argument for being the best quarterback in college football this season. I just think that they have a ceiling that's a little bit lower than everyone else's.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's kind of what the projection is for Clemson is that they are this is the range that they're going to finish in by season's end. In my opinion, like they're going to be a 5 seed or they'll be a top 4 seed if they win the ACC. But they'll be in this range. It is just a question of are they going to be able to compete once they get there. But I think you saw some signs of it later in the year that they were becoming a better football team. That you saw improvements on both sides of the football for them. That Texas game got competitive there at the end. But you have to get better than that. Like we can't just be saying that you're Clemson and you are competitive with Texas.
They might be able to get to that point in the season and out defense and out execute teams.
They're a matchups based team completely in the playoff.
Honestly, I kind of think they always have been.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I think they're going to walk through the ACC. That's the way. And you seem to be a little bit more hesitant on that than everybody else. But you're right. Everybody else is looking at it like, oh, it's Clemson, then the rest of that conference. We'll see what it ultimately plays out with. Now, number 4. We did a consensus. We put all of our rankings into a machine, and they told us how we consensusly rank these teams. I wanted to put Penn State at number 1 just to put all the pressure in the world on James Franklin, even though it's not like he listens to this show. But number 4, Penn State right here.
Again,
thoughts on the Nittany Lions?
I like Penn State in this position. I think that, again, you look at one of the things that few college football teams seem to have, a lot of returning starters and a quarterback that's been around for a long time, has played a lot of football. There's not a lot of teams in the top 25 that have that, and I think that's why we're kind of buying the Penn State hype, included with the fact that they made a deep run in the playoffs last year. They were one of the final 4 teams remaining. They were this close to a national championship appearance, and people believe that James Franklin is turning the corner. So I like this position for them. I'm not putting them any higher than that, though, because they haven't proven to me otherwise.
Let me just run something by you. Now, look, I know they went out and they added Kyron Hudson. They went out and added Devontae Ross. They went out and added Trebor Pena, the kid from Syracuse. But why didn't James Franklin just dedicate half of his salary to a real projectable, maybe first-round draft pick at wide receiver?
Don't know.
Because if they had a real difference maker, for example, if they had Ryan Wingo on this team, I'm not even going as far as to say Jeremiah Smith, because that's a little bit crazy. Mm-hmm. Or what if they poached Josiah Schrader down there in Miami? How much differently would you feel about Penn State going into this year if they had a guaranteed
I gotta be honest,
NFL wide receiver? You're going to tell me no different because you're an anti-Franklin guy.
Not that different. It's not anti-Franklin. It's just anti the fact that you haven't beaten a top 10 team in 5 years.
Yeah.
That's my biggest hang-up. And yes, you can blame weapons. Yes, you can blame quarterback play. There is something to be said when a team routinely loses games like this. And that's just the issue that I've had with them.
Yeah, I mean, not having one of those difference makers in the wide receiver room on top of losing your biggest difference maker last year offensively in Tyler Warren. And again, the continuing questions of Drew Aller, what does his play look like? I mean, it just hasn't been there. And I've pointed to it. It really hasn't even been a James Franklin issue in big games. I would say it's been a Drew Aller issue in big games. I mean, averaging a 53% completion percentage against top 15 opponents, it's just not going to cut it from from what you're expecting Drew Aller to be. You can't have that. And so if that continues to be the case for them, then I will continue to think the same thing that I have always about Penn State is that you're the third best team in the Big Ten, and that's it. And I'm not going to be picking you to really make a deep run in the college football playoff.
We got a Drew Aller film study coming up. I think we're going to record that tomorrow and get that out tomorrow. Boy, is that offense high school-y. Now, look, very creative human being is Andy Catalanecki. That being said, I could imagine a defensive coach wanting to pull his hair out watching that at practice. We got offensive guards out there playing wide receiver, motioning in, pretending to block. Like, we're just doing a lot to get Tyler Warren open. But there are going to be some explosives in that offense, despite the fact that they have no weaponry. But the Trevor Pena kid's legit.
Oh, I like him. For sure. I like him a lot.
Like, he did a lot last year in the ACC. We'll see. They at least tried. That's what we talked about with LSU. You got to try. You got to try to address these issues. If not, you're just sitting on your hands. We're going to criticize you. Number 3, did you have something else?
Nope.
Oh, number 3 on our board, Georgia. My notes say a blue chip roster with a tough schedule that broke every way in their favor. 3 true road games this year, being Tennessee, Auburn, Mississippi State. Neyland's tough, Jordan-Hare's tough. The rosters aren't, okay? Or at least you should have a significant advantage in those situations. Those road games broke your favor, as did the home games. You get Ole Miss at home, Bama, and Texas at home. You get a bye week before Bama and a bye week before Florida. The schedule is tough in terms of the logos on it. Where you get them, how you get them, and when you get them is much, much more absorbable than it was a year ago.
We're in territory with the list now, and I think we've gotten there since the top 5, where I look at it, it's like, wow, we ranked them that high, and Georgia's one of these teams. But then again, it's like you said, a blue chip roster with a favorable schedule, despite the fact that you play Texas, despite the fact that you play Alabama. There's a lot of things and upside to buy on Georgia here. There's also a lot of question marks. What we saw last year from a Kirby Smart team was not the standard. And if that carries over into 2025, they're going to be even worse. Like, that's just the reality of it.
Like, I'm going to go ahead and let you know, Texas is number 2 right here. They're the same exact answer. The only difference is they have Arch Manning instead of Gunner. Mm-hmm. And we're a little bit more bullish on what Arch has put on tape than what Gunner has as of right now.
Yeah.
I think it's
kind of the same conversation once you get into this range for all of these teams, because like our top 3 teams are in very, very similar positions of quarterback. What's that going to look like this year? How great is that going to be? What's the ceiling for those guys? Everything else around them feels really solid, though. Like, all the other remaining pieces feel really solid about them. Teams that consistently recruit in the top 10, top 5. It just always feels like the safe bet that these 3 teams, they're going to be good.
Any more thoughts on Georgia at 3?
Mm-mm.
Texas at 2. My biggest question about Texas, obviously they lost a bunch of defensive linemen. I was really up on their tackles last year, 56 and Kelvin Banks. Now, I know every time I talk about this, Texas fans remind me how much those 2 got stuffed in a locker against Georgia. But if that's the standard, y'all played 13 other football games that were really important in your season last year, and I felt like Kelvin Banks and number 56, who I always forget his name of, were really, really good last year, and you got to replace both of them. Okay, I know Brandon Baker was a really highly touted recruit. I know the left tackle was a really, really highly touted recruit. We'll see if they ultimately play like the 2 guys I thought played really, really well last year. Cameron Williams. Okay, my man Cam Williams was a good football player. All right, and we'll see if you can replace all of that, but we talked about it. No different than Georgia, no different than Ohio State, no different than a lot of these programs that recruit the way that these guys do. It's peel and replace. Mm-hmm. Oh, boo-hoo. You lost 10 guys to the NFL draft. You just signed 25 blue chippers. I don't feel sorry for you.
No. And I think that's kind of where we're at with Texas right now. And it's also the momentum behind them, building up of Arch is coming in, the recruiting trail's going very well. It feels like Steve Sarkisian has not only made himself a known commodity at Texas, but cemented himself that he's going to be at this program for a long time.
Absolutely. And number 1 on our board, preseason top 25, warranted and earned Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Tip of the cap.
Yeah. You win the Natty the year before. I feel like you deserve to be proven to have that number 1 spot taken. And there's not, like we just went through, there's not a clear-cut number 1 team. Like, we even sat here pre-show trying to debate, like, starting for number 1, and no one could agree on anything because there is not a clear-cut number 1 team. So I'm fine with Ohio State being at number 1 right now.
Now, if we put this poll on Twitter and tell them a machine created it, will it just drum up all kinds of, what do you call it, interactions, engagements? Or do you think it's too much of a ball knowers list? I run into that. When I put out these lists, everyone's just like, based. That's not what you need. We need something in here that's going to stir the fire.
I think Ohio State at 1 will stir the fire.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right. I don't think any quarterback in college football has a better situation.
Nope. No. Definitely not.
You know? Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Brandon Ennis don't get half bad there, huh?
Not at all.
You know?
Dang, I have to throw it to some of the best receivers in college football.
We had a Penn State fan show up in the chat, and he is getting obliterated. He's put up a good fight, though.
Respect.
Put up a good fight there, Penn State Sports Talk.
He even digging deep. He's bringing back Franklin's SEC days.
Hell yeah. Y'all thought this was fun. Wait till next hour. We're going to go through a full depth check here on the Georgia Bulldogs as fall camp is right around the corner. See you on the other side.